Oh, I just saw the preview for House of the Dragon. Yes, both trailers. And collectively, as well as singularly, I didn't really care that much. Let me do the positives and negatives, which will be both very short. Positives: the dragons look amazing. They look really, really powerful. They're not technically accurate to the books in certain ways, disappointing. However, they do look impressive, and I am very excited to see how they're going to do the action and fight sequences. Some really awesome lighting and the way people are creeping around with the swords, presumably on assassination orders. Okay, that's the good stuff. The bad stuff is the central story of the blacks versus the greens. I don't care. I'm not against prequel stories. I defend the Star Wars prequels all the time. So the idea of prequels themselves are not bad. In fact, I think if they covered the Aegon conquest, that would have been really interesting. And they're going to do Dunk and Egg, and I'm excited for that. However, doing it at this point in time where we're going to end up, we kind of know the ending already. If you saw Game of Thrones or just read the books, so you're like, there's not much tension unless they're going to do some really radical changes and cleverly keep things coherent with Game of Thrones. Um, and I didn't mind the slowness of the first season. And I think Millie did a lot. So the problem here is, for me, we don't have Millie, but the dragons are decent finally. So hopefully the dragon fights will keep me going. But otherwise, I'm not saying I was bored. I was just like, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting too. I expect decent action and decent acting. But the central story, just to me, is not interesting. And to be consistent, I did not find it interesting too much in the books. But there were things in the books that were better, like Dorne. I thought Dorne, the way it was drawn and getting more mythology there, okay, that was interesting. And just certain things with how Aegon and the sisters operated. So we're missing that because we're not really getting the beginning of the conquest. We're getting the conquest kind of in a late phase. That could still be interesting, and maybe season one just made some questionable choices because it was not entirely book accurate. I think most of the changes were acceptable, but they didn't really improve the story. It just became, this is the version that HBO or the Max canon will work with. And again, I will not dampen any fans who are really enthusiastic. But I just felt kind of underwhelmed. I'm excited really for Saw 11, for Beetlejuice. X-Men 97 with its flaws is pretty interesting. It's out right now. And Dune with all its flaws, part 2, also pretty interesting. This just feels above average to good, and above average to good is good. So let me kind of score it at the high end. I will give this a 7.25, but I will say I think a lot of fans are going to be just like, okay, that was nice, and kind of just walk away. But I'm sure there will be a fandom that will be gobbling everything up. I will report upon this, and I will try to be enthusiastic where possible, but my honest raw reaction is it was like, oh, that was nice. And it just doesn't have the power of the books. Where George is bad in the books, and he can be bad, it's really bad. But when he's really powerful, it's really powerful. And the same thing with Game of Thrones. When it was really good, it was really good. When it was really bad, really bad. Here they're trying to do a mid course and not be too bold, but not be too scared. And I understand that. They got to repair the damage of season 8. That's still a big scar in the community. I understand that. However, if you're not going to do the books, then you better do something really interesting and creative. Here they're just going, meh plus with the choices. So, I can only be fair and say, well, it's then meh plus score, at least in my eyes. So, 7.25 does not look like garbage. It looks amazing in many ways, but I just don't really care about the story. I really don't care. I only care about the dragons. I only care about Millie. Millie is gone. Hopefully, Millie will return in dream sequences or flashbacks. Maybe we'll have more Millie, but without Millie and without really the book canon, there's not much here. So it's just the dragon fights. So I look forward to that, and that is about it.